know if anybody's going to come in here because I'm at work right now. But I needed to talk about this. And not in a way where I'm angry or upset, but really have learned something, because I've been asking myself a lot of questions lately. So for those of you that know, you know. For those of you that don't, today is, well, officially the 8th, because it's early in the morning. It's like 3 in the morning. But I'm going from Saturday, from the time of the full blood moon eclipse. Okay. My first day back to work after being out for a week. Last Tuesday, when I got off work Wednesday morning, I pretty much did what I needed to do as far as, my schoolwork and stuff like that. And sleeping, I generally tend to sleep all day, off and on. Wednesday, when I get off work after doing 3 back-to-back 12-hour shifts. I had already stated to myself that I felt like I needed to detox, get back in touch with my spiritual practices, which I have been out of touch with for a while because of where I'm staying and being in the basement, not having any real privacy and no real ability to practice my spirituality the way that I'm used to, especially within a confined area where I feel like I have a sense of privacy. I just don't have that in the basement because everyone can come through there, and so it's, passing through of everyone's energy in my field. I was feeling the need of, like I said, wanting to purge, wanting to do a detox, and just really get back into some assimilation of how I was practicing. I started already getting in the habit of just going outside barefoot, even if it was only for a few minutes in the morning throughout the day. So the need of wanting to do a detox for my body is one. A girl at my job, and I don't really want to blame it on the job, but it's a segue. One of the young girls at my job had the flu, and so Thursday in the morning, I started feeling the symptoms of the flu. I know how they hit my body. And so I told the guy that I'm staying with, and for those of you that don't know, he was my very first boyfriend. There is nothing going on between the two of us. I am just in a place where he's offered to open up his home to me to help me without me having to pay any rent to get on my feet, because I've had such a hard time managing over the last couple of years with having to pay everywhere that I go and not making enough money to really save for myself the way that I would need to to quickly be able to, or just to be able to get into my own place, which has been really good for me to be able to do that. Not have to worry about paying any money for any kind of rent, just take care of my own personal needs. So we've maintained somewhat of, a friendship, if you want to call it that, throughout the years. And I told him that I was starting to feel the effects of getting sick, getting the flu. And I sprayed down everything, and wanted to try to protect everybody else from getting sick in the house, whatever. When I tell you, I don't know what it was, but it felt like the symptoms hit me so hard. Pardon me, y'all. I felt like the symptoms hit me so hard. I never felt so bad so fast. I did take 2 packs of Theraflu from my car that I had and drank them down, but it almost felt like they did nothing. And so Friday morning, I reached out to him and sent a text asking if he would be able to go to the store and get some more Theraflu for me, some Sunny D, and ginger ale. I didn't hear anything from him, so about 11:30, I'm like, okay, I don't know if he's still, here sleeping, resting the way that he normally does, and doesn't get up until sometime in the afternoon. So I waited until about 12:15, and I called and asked if he would be able to do it. I said, I shot you a text, blah, blah, blah. And he said that he most likely would not be able to do, go to the store and get anything for me. He said he'd see what he could do, but he wouldn't be able to do anything until that evening. So when I happened to look outside, I noticed that his car was gone. So he's already out and about. But again, you're saying that you're not going to be able to literally bring anything back to me until this evening, and I need something more immediately. So I reached out to my coworker who lives around the corner from me, asked if she would be able to go to the store for me. She said she'd be able to do it in about an hour because she was out on a lunch date with a girlfriend. I was like, no problem. And I told her, I'd cash app her, which I was going to do for him. She brought the stuff by. I told her to just bring it to the side door and I would get it. So when the stuff came, I told him not to worry about getting me anything because I got my coworker to go to the store for me. And it wasn't until the next day, Saturday, that I seen this text from him that said, okay, hold up. So you gave out my address and invited in someone. And I'm like, I'm sick. You weren't going to be able to get me anything until later. And I need, do you understand how sick I am? Because this was the thing that was bothering me. First off, when I responded back, I said that she had been to the house before because I had to give her a ride. I had to give her a ride to work, and she did not come in the house. She left the stuff outside. But you're so concerned about who's coming in your house that you're not even worried about the fact that I am really, really sick. I'm not, there ain't no little cold or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure there was a few times that he heard me throwing up before he came down into the basement, into the wastebasket. But the whole time I'm laid out on the floor and you're passing me back and forth to come and get your liquor, to go to the back room where the refrigerator is to get your beer, to do whatever it is that you needed to do, to check on the laundry, and not once ever asking if I needed something, do I need help, do I need assistance, am I okay? I clearly was not functionable. I barely could get up the steps to go to the bathroom. I was so bad. I hadn't eaten anything since my last day of work, which was Tuesday. I couldn't keep anything down. The water, the little bit of Sunny D and soda that I had got in my body, I was throwing up, and it got to the point where I was just throwing up bile. It was just... So long story short, Sunday morning, I mustered up whatever strength that I could, got myself dressed, and I already felt nasty as hell because I was so out of it. I hadn't even washed my behind since the day I got off work. Here I am so laid out that every time I stand up or even sit up, I'm getting insanely dizzy. And I felt like I was going to pass out. I managed to upload the Lyft app. I can't even tell you, it was so hard for me to even use any brain power at all. Get to the hospital with no help. It took everything in me to do this. When I got to the hospital, they took my temperature and said that it was 103.5, said that I was severely dehydrated. I also found out while I was there that I had a kidney stone and a kidney infection. So that was Sunday. I got admitted. I watched TV all of 10 minutes while I was there and did a lot of reflection and introspection. Ended up leaving out of the hospital about 6:30 Thursday night. So I had missed Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of work. And the only reason why I wanted to go into the hospital Saturday, but I didn't have it in me. I didn't have the strength to go in me. But I figured if I got into the hospital Sunday, that I could, get some kind of medicine and at least be able to get one day of work, which would be Tuesday. But that didn't happen. Thinking about it, after I was there for 2 days, he finally reached out and asked if I was okay. And I was like, no. Because you see my covers are still on the floor, my car is out front, and you don't see me. When I get back to the house, he asked, oh, well, guess you got a clean bill of health now? And I was like, no. He's like, oh. And it almost just felt like, I don't know. So my thing is, I didn't want to just look at it as his behavior, even though I feel like his behavior was very poor towards me, because I would never be that way towards someone, not check on them knowing that they are sick. And if you understand how the flu can take you out, I would have checked to see. If I'm seeing someone just laying there, I'm going to check and see, do you need anything? Can I help you with something? I was so messed up that even though I had the Theraflu, I couldn't even make it upstairs long enough to hold a cup of water to put in the microwave, to leave up there for 2 minutes in the microwave to heat up, to be able to make the Theraflu, to be able to drink. I had no strength. The last time I felt like I was that out of it with the flu was the last time I had the flu, which was when I had the flu shot back in, it might have been like 2005. Yeah, about 2005. Now, before this, and again, that was something that I had to think about, just the actions of it that really triggered me. And I just needed to really ask myself why, because I don't want to be carrying around any bitterness or anger, especially going into this retrograde. And this is all about releasing, needing to release so earlier, I won't say earlier, but earlier in the month, last month, I'll say, okay, it was last month. And these two things will kind of tie in together. I reunited with an old friend, an old girlfriend that I hadn't spoke to since 2018. Very grateful for the reunion. But the way that she tends to be religiously was a bit triggering for me. And it kind of reminded me of my aunt that I'm really on so-so terms with. I can't even say that we have the best relationship. We don't. We really don't have any kind of relationship anymore. We just correspond with each other every now and then. And it's not that frequent. So there was something with her behavior and his behavior that was severely triggering me. And so while I was in the hospital, like I said, I only watched maybe all of 10 minutes of TV, and I was doing a lot of deep introspection and really trying to get back in touch with spirit and figure some things out. Really figure some things out. So when I spoke to my girlfriend in Florida, you know, she was saying the same thing, how she'd been trying to put everything, look at everything in a spiritual type of way lately. And it's what I was actually doing while I was in the hospital, because I did go back into looking into my numerology, which before I got in the hospital, I was wanting to get into my numerology, but my book is packed up. And I wanted to get it to go back in because there were some things that I wanted to look at within my chart in terms of calculating certain numbers. So she just kind of went there for me where I wanted to go but was unable to. So I'm just going to let y'all hear some of this stuff. So I'm a life path number 8. And it says it for life path number 8. I'm here to master power, authority, finances, and self-mastery through test of strength. When in alignment, I become a builder and a protector. But when I'm out of alignment, The 8 can attract health crisis and a sudden breakdown as a wake-up call, or as a sudden breakdown as a wake-up call. And so again, it ties into what was going on with my body because I had obtained the flu. There was a breakdown happening. My birthday is 25, but it equals out to a 7. And 7 is the number for a spiritual seeker, truth finder, very sensitive to health, nerves, kidneys, and elimination. I don't know if y'all seen the bigger picture here now, how all this stuff is starting to kind of come together. So I'm already thinking about getting into my spirituality more and trying to look more at how I can go back into doing some of my spiritual practices that I was doing before, but in a way that does not make me feel like I'm inhibited. Also, my room number that I was in was 6127, which equaled out to the number 7. Highly spiritual number, okay? So, all of that, and looking at my kidney stone that I have, and kidney infection is on my right side. The right side of your body is your masculine side. So the kidneys filter emotional waste, which had, I guess you could say, ended up materializing into stones because I had not really been processing, releasing what I need to emotionally the way that I should have. So the stones form when energy calcifies. So I developed one stone. That's all the doctor said that they seen is one stone. And again, like I said, the right side is masculine, which means action, external world. This says that I'm holding hard, unprocessed energy around men and external responsibilities, and it ties directly to my life path number 8 about power and control. Now, where this part plays a part in what I've been dealing with in the house when it comes to the power around men and authority. I've been feeling very triggered lately when it comes to being in the house and feeling like I needed to protect myself or watch myself, because I just gotten to the point where I have been getting sick and tired of him grabbing my ass and sneaking around to try to only find certain times of the day to come outside of the basement to make meals. I haven't really been cooking the way that I need to for myself, taking care of myself health-wise, because I feel like I always have to watch my back. The reason why it's been so triggering for me is because I have a history of being molested and raped. molested from the time I was 5 to 12 by my mother's boyfriend. One. There's been other people that have molested me, but the main person has been my mother's boyfriend, this guy, David Jones. And everyone knows my mom, that knows him, that they dated off and on for years, and he was like a big crush, I guess, of hers through high school. So where this ties in with the religious part, and I had to really try to think about this, why I get so upset when it came to the behavior of my girlfriend and my aunt, why it reminded me of my aunt and how she acted and that whole, religious thing. I remember how zealous I used to be when it came to that, but how much I felt disempowered when it came to having a life of my own and being able to have any say-so, because I felt like religion took away my voice. Like I had to bow my will to that of the principles of the Bible that I did not always agree with. And more so within the practice of the religion of being a Seventh-day Adventist. I never want to lose or feel like I'm at a loss of that much control over myself ever again. And thinking about the guy that I'm staying with, where it ties in with him, is when I was going through the sickness and feeling so angry, it reminded me of my mom, and feeling like I'm in a place where you see that I'm hurting, like you should be paying attention. Why aren't you paying attention? Why aren't you paying attention enough to me to see that I really need help, that I need assistance, that I could use some real help, because I'm in a position where I can't really do anything for myself. The only time my mom helped me, and I don't even understand, like, I kind of understand this, but I kind of don't. The only time that my mom helped me in cases when I was molested is when I said something when I was living in Florida, and that was when I was held up at gunpoint. The time that we moved from Florida and went to Elmira, and the babysitter, Mel, her son Mitchell, was molesting me, trying to touch on me in the middle of the night while I'm sleeping. And I told my mom what was, going on. I didn't want to go back there anymore. But when it came to David, it was a little harder, because I knew that there was a part of me that just sensed it. It was an emotional tie. And I know that my mom said that if anybody ever touched me, that she would always believe me. She would always believe me. and I could always tell her, and that, we weren't to ever allow anyone to touch us inappropriately. It wasn't until I was 18 and I called a family meeting and I told everyone, and I don't think my mom was there at that time, but for whoever was there at my grandmom's, I told. I honestly can't remember if my mom was there. She may have been. But for whatever reason, he was the one person that it just felt a little harder to speak on. You know what? I do remember my mom being there, and she was finding it very hard to believe. And after I had told everyone about all the individuals in the family and outside of the family that had molested me, that Negro came to the door, knocked on the door, and it basically was because he knew that my mom was in town. And my auntie answered the door and told him that he was never to come back to the house because he hurt someone very dear to her. And he was like, "Who are you talking about?" She's like, "You think long and hard about it." I was always flabbergasted by the idea of him doing what he did to me, knowing that he had a daughter named Monica. Either way, it just bothered me that, here I am in this position where I need help, and the only time that you seem to see me well enough to give me anything is when I actually have to verbally say something and stand up for myself. And you haven't paid enough attention to me as a person to recognize that I'm in a position where I need help. And that's something that I kind of even struggle with within myself when it comes to my kids, because I would like to think that I've tried to pay attention to them, that I've tried to actually watch them enough as much as I could within everything that I've had to do as a parent to be able to say that I believe that I paid attention enough to catch things that were going on. And I understand it's challenging, but I don't understand how she did not catch my behavior, the change, the drastic change in my behavior. Like, 1 minute, if he's around, he's playing with me and my brother, we're all giggling and having fun, but then the next minute, when she's out of sight and she comes back around, she sees me all closed up and clammed up, that my whole demeanor has completely changed. And this fool makes a ridiculous statement saying, "Oh, she's just mad because I don't want to play with her. I already gave her a turn. I want to play with her brother." And her not realizing that this Negro was just all over top of my body, pressing his hands on my breast and trying to jam his tongue down my throat. Some of the comments that he would make about me, my body, like, first of all, as a man, what? It's not your child. Why are you making any kind of comments about what my child body looked like when it comes to what she's wearing? Talk about ain't nobody thinking about you. Well, obviously you thinking about me enough because you making comments about my body. Talk about ain't nobody thinking about me and seeing my little whatever. You noticing that there's something there, so obviously you are. But it just bothered me, the fact that, I'm looking at me supposedly being in this space right now where I'm supposed to be receiving some kind of help, but I'm not being paid attention to when it comes to general needs, my well-being, that I basically have been put back into a position where I feel helpless and on my own, like I have to fend for myself, which I did. And having to endure something that otherwise I shouldn't have to if you're paying attention to me. But then also, again, like I said, feeling triggered in a different kind of way by him as well, because, I'm also having to watch my back, because I don't want him grabbing on me. I don't want his hands on my ass. And me having to forcefully push his hands away and tell him, no, don't touch my body. And then to have to deal with the questioning of why, and feeling offended because I made a statement saying that his behavior was triggering me and reminding me of what I went through with an ex-boyfriend that raped me. And him not understanding, saying, I don't understand how I could remind you of someone like that. I didn't say you, I said your behavior. So if you don't want to see yourself, having the behavior of a rapist, then don't exhibit rapist behavior. It's as simple as that. All of this in combination of me feeling like, again, needing to secure a place for myself, because I've been putting so much emphasis on the material world that there hadn't been enough emphasis for myself on the spiritual side of things, and just allowing things to flow to get to where I need to allow spirit to work, to place me in a place where I have my own place and don't have to worry about tiptoeing around anybody, and having the freedom to be able to feel at peace. And all of this, your body starts to break down and show you spiritually where you are out of balance. Then looking at the fact that I'm in my year 9. We in the world are in a year 9, and are now in the month number 9. So 999. And 9 is representative of endings, changes, purging, detoxing, which my body was already doing with me not being able to eat anything and just throwing up. I was releasing. My personal year 9, a year of endings, release, and detox. Anything that has run its course, relationships, jobs, habits, even physical toxins is being purged, all of that stuff. And even me looking at old behaviors, old ways of thinking. This is why I've been like, I don't want to hold on to this, and I need to see this in a spiritual way, and not just a way where I'm attaching or projecting negative feelings, like really, really taking a look at why does this stuff bother me? Why am I upset? Because I need to release it. I need to let it go. I'm not trying to continue to hold on to this stuff. This says in my personal month number 9, doubles the theme, a karmic magnifier whatever is unresolved is coming up in my body and in my life right now, because I needed to deal with this whole issue of what I've been going through, being in a house, being touched, the unresolved issues of being under masculine energy, feeling like I've been disempowered, and where I never want to feel a sense of not ever having control or power again. Which is why I will never go into a religion again. Ever. So, A energy, it says, deals with power struggles and blockages, which represented the kidney stone. The 9, of course, deals with the endings and clearing. And part of that was also my temperature burning away things within my body physically. That high temperature, 103.5, is pretty high. I don't know if anybody has ever experienced having a temperature that high. I was delusional. By the time I got to the hospital, I literally was like ready to faint. I felt like I was going to faint. So I have been really trying to do my work and get back into doing my spiritual practices again. But I've incorporated some new ones. And it's just giving me a way to like really look at things, because I feel like I was already beginning to feel the change in this energy before this full blood moon eclipse had come. But this is one of those things where you really just need to pay attention to what's going on in your body, because it could be tied to some spiritual meaning, something that you may not be handling, taking care of the way you need to. There's not a damn drop in here left. But I know that there's already been some things that I've let go of. My ex that I had when I was in New York for the last 6-7 years, that relationship is completely dissolved, and we are definitely no longer friends anymore. That's come to an end, and I believe that there will be some other endings that will happen before this month and this year is out. But just for me, like I said, I needed to find a way to just make peace with this, because I didn't want to go around harboring any negative energy or just looking at it in a physical sense and not understanding the relevance of what it meant spiritually, because there's a lesson. And maybe you guys are going through something similar where you need to start paying more attention to things that are happening within your body, what your body's trying to tell you, things that are happening outside, you know, in your reality that may be signifying some type of shift that you need to take, where you might be out of alignment and you really need to pay attention to it. I don't know. So, at any cost, I just wanted to share this because I needed to get it out of my system. And if someone can get something from it, then that's even better. Great. So, until the next time, y'all, be well.